Every time we have a feeling, every time we have a thought, every time we have an emotion, where's that coming from? Where is that originating from? Where do we find that within our being? What's the basis of our thoughts? What's the basis of our emotions? Where is that dwelling within us? So the thoughts that we're having, are they our thoughts? Are they coming from outside of us? Are they coming from inside of us? Are they coming from something that's been stored within us for a long time? Are they just passing by and taking root within us for a moment? Have we ever considered that the emotions that we're having and the thoughts that we're having and the feelings that we're having might be someone else's emotions, thoughts, and feelings? They might not even be ours. They might not even be coming from within our own being. They might be coming from something else, some other situation around us. So the energy within us is divine, perfect, loving, and free. We take all of this energy within us, all of this divine, beautiful, devoted, pure, powerful energy within us. And we know that this is the divine essence of our being. We know that this is the truth of our being. We know that everything we are is that divine essence within us. So what happens when we have these other emotions, these other thoughts, these other disturbing feelings coming up within us? Are they required? Do we have to have those thoughts? Do we have to have those feelings? Do we have to have those emotions? What do they look like when we look at them? What do they look like when we feel them? So are these thoughts, these feelings, these emotions, our thoughts, feelings, and emotions? Because the truth of us, the divinity within us, is the peace of all things. It is the truth of all things. It is God's love. It is God's grace. It is God's truth. And it is God's divinity. So what happens if we have disturbing emotions and disturbing thoughts and disturbing feelings? Where do they come from? What is the root of them? What is the basis of these thoughts and these feelings? So it's hard sometimes to sit and just contain ourselves in this space of love, because all these other things are coming into our mind, right? Are coming to play. Emotions, feelings, thoughts. I can't sit. It's too hard. There's too much coming up. And I have these feelings and I don't know what these feelings are, but they don't feel good. And I have these thoughts and I shouldn't be having these thoughts. They're not good thoughts. I don't want to have these thoughts. So rather than considering what these emotions in these thoughts actually are, and considering what the root of these thoughts and these emotions actually are, we just decide not to sit. We decide to distract ourselves. We decide to go do something else. We decide to not let these things rock our world. But what is the source of them? What is the truth of them? Why are they coming to us? Why do these thoughts and these emotions and these feelings arise within us? Is there a consideration that ever said, wow, maybe these aren't really my feelings. Maybe these aren't really my emotions. Maybe these aren't really my thoughts. And maybe you've been having the thoughts for a really long time. So then we really claim them, right? I have been having these same bad thoughts for 20 years, so they are my thoughts. I claim these thoughts, and because I have these thoughts, I'm this kind of a person, right? Because I have hateful thoughts or lustful thoughts or whatever kind of thoughts I have, I must be that kind of a person because I'm having those kind of thoughts. What's the source of the thought? What is the source of the emotion? Before we claimed it as our own, where did it originate? Where did it form? Where did it come from? Is there a place that we can get to? A place that we can see? A place that we can identify that is the source of the originator of these thoughts, feelings, and emotions? So often, if we take ourselves back to our childhood space, we can see who else was displaying these thoughts and who else was displaying these emotions. And if someone in our childhood was displaying these thoughts and emotions, well, most likely someone in their life was, and someone in their life was. So how far back does it go? How long have we been carrying a thought or an emotion? And even if it's been carried 20 generations back in our family line, that still doesn't mean that it's ours. It still doesn't mean that it's our own. So by recognizing that the truth within us is love, is peace, is joy, is divinity, is pure grace, our mind is actually pure. The mind itself is pure. The mind itself is love. The mind itself is divinity, because it is formed of grace. It is formed of truth. It is formed of God's grace. So how can it be anything other than perfect, divine, and free? So if we're claiming another thought or another emotion as our own, is it time to let those thoughts and those emotions and those feelings go? Is it time to say, I'm done thinking those thoughts, having those feelings, claiming those emotions as my own? So just the thought now, just thinking about this now, this thought that, wow, they're not necessarily my own. They're not necessarily who I am. They don't necessarily make up the personality of me. I might think them every day. I might have this emotion every single morning when I wake up, or every single day when I go to bed. I might have this feeling. I might have this emotion. These things might come up for me, but does it mean that I own them? Does it mean that I have to continue claiming them as my own? Is there a time when we can stop and say, wait a minute. The pureness of me, the essence of me, the truth of me is God's grace, God's truth, and God's divinity. And this thought or this feeling or this emotion does not fit into the grace of God's truth, love, and divinity. So it must not be my true self. It must not be my true awareness. It must not be my true grace. So let's look at some of those thoughts that come up for us every day, or those feelings or those emotions. So when we wake up in the morning, how do we feel? Is there a thought that bombards us every single morning? Oh my God, I got to go do this today, or I have to do that today, or I am feeling lonely or dejected or guilty, or what is it? What is that thought that hits you in the morning when you wake up? What is that thought? And now think about where that thought originated from. Has that always been your thought? Have you had that thought since you were a small child? When did that thought originate in your being? Go back as far as you can with that thought. How long have I been waking up with that thought? How long has that thought or that feeling or that emotion been a part of me? Is it something that you want to hold on to? Is it something that you want to keep? Is it something that you want to continue with as you go forward? Do you want to continue having these thoughts, these feelings, and these emotions? Or are you done with them and ready to be who you are in your divine, beloved space of peace? Are you ready to be who you are? The truth of you, the divinity of you, the peace of you, the love of you, the joy of you, without being interrupted by disabling thoughts, emotions, and feelings. So I'm just here to say, think about the thoughts you're thinking. Think about the feelings you're having. Think about the emotions that like to claim you. Think about the fact that they are not you. They are not you. You are pure, you are divine, you are perfect, and you are free. We are God's grace. Every single one of us is God's grace. We've been created from the grace of God's divinity. We've been created from the grace of God's truth and God's peace and God's love. So we can choose what we want to think. We can choose how we want to feel. We can choose the emotional relationship we have with life. So it may take a little diving in to see where it came from, right? To see where it originated, to see how hard we're holding on to that thought or that emotion, to see how strong our grip is. But the more we dive and the more we dive and the more we dive, And the more we question those thoughts and those emotions and those feelings, the more they're going to look like a foreign entity to us. The more they're going to start looking like something that was received from somewhere else or something else or someone else. And we can see that our perfection, that our grace, that our truth, that our divinity can't hold those thoughts, those emotions, and those feelings anymore, because we're in a divine space of peace, truth, and divinity. So the thoughts that you're having aren't your thoughts. They aren't necessarily your thoughts, right? The emotions you're feeling aren't necessarily your emotions. Just consider that. Think about that. Let that ruminate. See how that feels to you. See how that feels to you. I know some of them can feel like they have a very strong hold on us. But once we start considering that they are not our own, no matter how far back it goes, no matter how many times we've thought the thought, or had the feeling, if we start considering that the very base of our core, the very truth of our being, they are not our own, we can start to release them and allow them to go and allow them to be free from us, so that we may be free to be who we truly are, which is divine, perfect, loving, free beings of light on this earth plane, living our lives in joy and peace and truth and divinity. That's who we are. That's why we've come here. That's what we're doing. Barokurasana Kariyata. An Arieta Kurushava Koronoso, Riteki Kan Haratata Ariteki Patanokru, He Ham Hagarapata Riteki Shaiva Kurudana Kaliyato, Hiradana Kaliyata Riteki Patoroko, Hiarana Kaliyata Riteki Shiva, Korono Kurudana Kaliya Shiva Kuru, Harana Kaliya Potoro Kereneki Karadandayata. Rukurutan hariteki pota ma anda kaliatoriteki Shiva kurutan hariteki maranda kaliata tata kurutan hariteki potoroto hiranna kaliariteki ponanokuru eroko hirano ko kurushavakanam sere hanalata ariteki padana kuru sareteki nyara narene kuruta nakaliyata reke patondoroto Shiva Guru Humhara Rete Kuruta Nariteki Shiva. No matter how engrossed you are in the thoughts that you think are your own, no matter how enmeshed you are in the feelings and the emotions that you think are yours, you can be free. You can wake up every day with a feeling of grace in your heart, feeling of love on your tongue, ready to speak the words of grace, truth, peace, and divinity. We consider this within our being. We consider the truth within our being, and as we consider the truth within our being, everything becomes free. Everything becomes free. Shiva Guru Tanarata Kaliya Doroko, Isha Shiva Guru Tanakaliya Rete Karanoko, Harana Kaliya Rete Karanokuru Shiva Karanakali Maro Nihroko Maraka. Messia.